Welcome to Rugby Saturday Southwest. I'm your host today, Aaron Rivera, filling in for Ed Nunez. Unfortunately, his mother died, and so all of us here at ProView Networks would like to send out our condolences to Ed Nunez and his family. But today I'm going to be joined by the Executive Director of New Mexico Youth Rugby, Jamie Schwabach, as well as my co-host, Carl Hawkins. Jamie, Carl, how are you both feeling today?
Good morning, doing great.
Yeah, doing great. Sad to hear the news about Ed, but you know, show goes on, I guess.
Absolutely. So coming up this weekend, we're going to be having the championships for the New Mexico Youth Rugby. But before we get into that, Jamie, why don't you talk about the playoffs that we had up in Santa Fe this last weekend?
Of course, we had an amazing day of rugby on Saturday. We had our 2016 state playoffs. We had our boys 15s, boys 10s, and girls 7s this past weekend. We had some really, really tough battles between some teams. It was a single elimination tournament, so there was a lot of hearts broken as well as some pleasant surprises that are coming in next weekend.
And speaking of pleasant surprises, one thing you mentioned was that some teams who were on top at the beginning didn't even make it past the first round.
Yeah, we had, it was in the girls round, so we were playing our 7s for the girls. The Rio Rancho Royals were playing the San Juan Spartans. We had a Rio Rancho team versus Farmington. And I'm so sorry, it was the Albuquerque Hermanitas, and it was a big surprise because the Royals were undefeated for the season. This is their first season playing, and the Hermanitas had not won a game this season, and it was a big upset with the number 8 taking over the number 1.
Well, they won the game when it counted.
Correct.
Oh, and that's a big one, huh?
It was a really good surprise and tough game for the girls' side. On the boys' side, we did have the Albuquerque Dukes. The Albuquerque Dukes playing the La Cueva Bears, which was a really tough match because the last 2 state playoffs have been those 2 teams. And so in that game went into overtime with the Bears coming out ahead. So advancing to the state playoffs for their 4th year in a row.
And that was a rematch of the last week of the regular season as well, where it wasn't quite so close. La Cueva had a little bit bigger of a match that first time. And then we also saw on the other side a rematch between Rio Rancho and El Dorado. Talk about what happened in that game.
Well, you know, in the end, the Rio Rancho team did come ahead, and it was a little bit higher than I expected score-wise. And I do have to say something regarding the Eagles. I saw a note from their coach just saying what a hard game it was, what a pleasant game it was to play, and how excited they are for them to advance to the state playoffs. So it's really excited for Coach Dave Bracken to be taking the Rio Rancho Rebels, who he's running a great program out on the west side, to the state champs next weekend.
Oh,
Absolutely.
That's great. Congratulations to both of them. I was kind of surprised that La Cueva didn't make it through.
La Cueva did make it through.
Oh,
It's going to be.
La Cueva made it through.
They did.
I'm sorry.
And something great to hear about that is Coach Sean Murmer. This is the 4th time he's taken their team to the state playoffs, and that's going to be great. They are the reigning champions for the last 4 years, or the last 3 years, and we'll see how they battle against the Rio Rancho Rebels this weekend.
Absolutely. Coach Sean Murmer's been to the championships even before he went to La Cueva, I understand.
Correct. When he was helping Coach Mark Neese with St. Pius, he did take them for 2 years prior to that as well.
Absolutely. And so speaking of the state championships, we're actually going to be broadcasting those. It'll be the first time in New Mexico's history that we've broadcast the state championships here for both the boys and the girls side. We're going to have 5 games for you coming up this weekend. You can find the information for the broadcast on the Facebook page for Rugby Saturday USA, as well as the Facebook page for New Mexico Youth Rugby.
Which we're super excited. I think another great thing about the state playoffs is this year we're going to be having more games featured. We're going to have consolation matches for our girls 7s, our boys 15s, as well as this year we're going to be having a 1st and 2nd place match for our boys 10s bracket, which is giving more opportunity for young men to play. And what's exciting about that is that game is going to be represented from the San Juan Spartans, so the Farmington area, as well as the Los Alamos Nukes. So we've got a lot of statewide representation in our 1st and 2nd brackets, and then in our 3rd, 4th place, we do have a team from Las Cruces coming up as well on the girls' side.
And that'll all be out at Bloom Fiesta Park, and so everybody needs to spread the word and get some people out there and get some fans cheering on the sidelines. Beautiful venue. It's a great day. They have plenty of facilities out there. It'll be wonderful.
It's going to be great starting at 10 a.m. So we're really excited about the venue and the event and just the athletes coming out. It's going to be some tough matches.
Awesome. And we talked a little bit about the girls sevens upset between the Royals and the Hermanitas. Why don't you talk about the two teams who are going to be in the championship?
So the championship game, which is going to be at 12:30 on Saturday, it's going to be against the West Side Ruckus, which this is a team who's been around for 4 years, and the last 4 years they made it to the state playoffs. Last year they lost to the the Mesilla Valley Heat. And so I know the Ruckus, who are going to be playing the San Juan Spartans, the Farmington area team, are really looking to come in full force to be able to try and get their championship title back.
And that sounds like a pretty big statewide. When we talk about state championships, often we talk about just the Albuquerque area, but with teams coming from San Juan, from Las Cruces, we really have a lot of state involvement now at the high school level in rugby.
We are seeing it grow, and we want to see it continue to grow. This year we also have had the El Paso teams come in because we are the closest area for them. So the statewide and the El Paso area is increased. We're seeing more and more kids play, and we're really hoping that we see more kids coming from the Santa Fe area to revitalize that small youth teams as well as high school teams in the fall.
A lot of youth rugby being played in New Mexico, and it bodes well for the future of the sport. Kids learning skills at an early age. It's one of the big deficits that the United States has playing internationally. People don't start until they go to college or something to play rugby, and around the world in the British Isles and what they call the home nations, and in the Southern Hemisphere where the really great rugby is being played. These kids are starting at the ages that we're starting here now, the youth rugby age, and it gives you an opportunity to develop the skill sets that are needed in the game. It's a complex game. You play offense, you play defense. They have an incredibly high level of fitness that's required, and it's a thinking person's game, and it's really kind of neat to see this happening.
I totally agree, and just your mention of youth rugby, right now we do have the Albuquerque Youth Rugby United, which has about 120 U14 players, U15 players, and they're playing non-contact and contact in the Albuquerque area. We also just recently received a grant from USA Rugby where we've increased our development officer, so
Congratulations.
which is really great. They're going to be working in the Las Cruces and El Paso area to increase little kids playing rugby. And so we're really looking to start a program, hopefully have it fully established by this spring to get more kids in southern New Mexico playing rugby.
Sounds like you got your fingerprint on that one, huh?
Well, we feel very excited that we're working together to see more kids, just like you said, is that we need that growth from the younger age to increase their international play.
Absolutely. So another thing that we're kind of talking about is there's a lot of teams in Albuquerque that just go by the Albuquerque teams. So why are we still sitting as club sports instead of being a little bit more entwined with the high school sports?
It's a great question. So USA Rugby would really like to see more single-based schools. And so we are working to try and be established with that. Albuquerque Dukes.
Explain that single-based school.
So one school. Right now, as Aaron had mentioned, we do have a lot of teams that are club-based. So La Cueva Bears is purely from La Cueva. And so they're just pulling predominantly from athletes from those schools. And we are not a part of the New Mexico Activities Association currently. So that's one thing. So we're not considered a varsity sport. And that is something you see across the United States, is a lot of teams are starting to go more with an individual school, which is our ideal goal. And the boys' side, we do see where that is a possibility more. On the girls' side, we're still driving to that. We do, if you look at the Hermanitas, who are coming in that third, fourth place bracket this coming weekend, most of those kids do go to Amy Beale High School here in Albuquerque, so that is going to be a single-based school. So it's something to work towards, and right now we just need more people playing rugby and more interest, and then we can really have that drive.
That's kind of the same thing that you see with the University of New Mexico and their women's and men's rugby teams. They're considered club sports, and I noticed around the country that more and more schools are making them official varsity sports, and the real leaders in terms of competing for national championships are the ones that are the varsity sports and that are supported by the university and the organizations and the states that fund the universities. Do you see any of that kind of leading over to any kind of possibility that could happen? I think that would be a wonderful thing here in New Mexico.
I think it'd be a great thing. I know when I played collegiate rugby for New Mexico State University, we were a club collegiate team, and it was always something we were vying to try and go higher. And once you get established, and like you said, you're seeing more colleges do that, but not everybody's doing it yet. Once it does get established, I think it's going to be very positive for our programs at all levels. I think the Olympics this year might be a good drive for that. We're going to see really
Olympic
in the United
sport,
States, that there is a big drive for rugby when we're seeing this pro rugby that's coming up. It's just started in the last couple of weeks. That you're going to see a lot, hopefully, of these colleges, these high schools getting more established.
Yeah, I can remember the days that when I was a UNM Lobo rugby player, washing cars to earn money to buy jerseys and scrambling for money to travel and compete, and we were really representatives of the university traveling to other cities to play, and it's really kind of sad if it's ragtag. I mean, it's got to be official.
I mean, as we're talking about those Lobos, though, Tom Goslow and Matt Odo, who are really running a tight-knit program at UNM right now,
they're doing a
have
great
done
job.
a lot of great things to really drive a strong focus on the men's team. The women's team, the Lady Lobos, did go back to Washington 2 weeks ago. They had a couple tough losses, but they had some hard-fought games, and they represented the university really well.
Yeah, I saw some captions on the Lobo women's rugby page. They got beat pretty bad by Central Washington, I think.
It was a tough score.
But the caption was kind of interesting, is because they said basically that they fought like she-wolves protecting their cubs to the very end. So that was great.
We've got just a little bit of time left. Do you have any final thoughts about the future state of New Mexico's rugby? Especially in the youth form?
I think that we just need to increase our support from the community and support our athletes. It's an amazing sport, and we look forward to more kids playing, more coaches coming out, and hopefully some more sponsorships as well. And hopefully we'll see everybody out of the state playoffs next weekend.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you all choose to join us this weekend. We're going to see 5 different matches, some championship matches, some consolation matches. Stick around for the Dave & Buster's Top 10 Plays of the Week.
Here's the dangerous Hannah Obry. Pradika's going, and she's going to be out, I think.
Nice throw.
Whoop. Here's the 0-1. She hit that one from up in her eyes, way back, still going back. Oh, what a nice play by Pavlicek on the move.
Welcome back to Rugby Saturday Southwest. Me and Carl are joined by Marty Watts, the founder of Rugby Saturday USA, or one of the founders, I should say. Marty, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and thank you for having me on the show. And I'm really excited that we're going to be doing this show weekly, talking about Rugby Saturday Southwest, teams in the Arizona area, teams in Oklahoma, teams in El Paso, Las Cruces, and hopefully next season we'll do more teams in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But Rugby Saturday, it's been, so far, the model's been in Albuquerque. It's been a great success, guys, don't you think?
Yeah, it really has.
Absolutely. So why don't you talk a little bit about what brought about Rugby Saturday, sort of now we have conglomeration of high school rugby, club rugby, college rugby, and youth rugby all at the same time.
Well, here in Albuquerque, we've been kicking this idea around for a couple seasons. Tom Goslow, who's the coach of UNM, and he was part of youth rugby. Mark Neese, who's the president of New Mexico Youth Rugby. Jay Livingston, who runs the Albuquerque Youth Rugby Organization. And people in the Brujos, people in the Aardvarks, the local
Arnold.
Del Arnold from El Paso. We thought about what would be great if we could have one venue where we can bring everybody together and you can watch rugby from 9 o'clock till 4 o'clock. And so we started this company called Sports Property United with the idea that we would promote these venues around the Southwest, and Albuquerque was the model. And so how I came up with the name Rugby Saturday USA was that I used to go to a lot of these rugby events where I would see T-shirts that said Saturday is a rugby day. And it became a popular slogan. And actually there was a song written about that. So
Don't sing the song.
No, we don't want to sing the song. But I thought it was a good idea. And I just said, well, what about Rugby Saturday USA, Rugby Saturday Tucson, Rugby Saturday Phoenix, Rugby Saturday El Paso, Las Cruces, Rugby Saturday Oklahoma. And so we are in the process in the spring of 2017 to launch those other sites. And because of this playoff we had just recently, the Arizona team saw the concept and they're really excited. So that's how we came up with it. And I think with now broadcasting with this partnership with ProView Network, we'll be broadcasting rugby events for youth, college, and club. We want to do the same thing in Tucson and Phoenix, in Oklahoma and El Paso. So I think we got something going here. And
Youth, college, high school.
yeah.
And club.
Yeah, and
early in the high school, it's big.
And so, and you can see we've had great crowds at the Balloon Fiesta Park. Our other partner is the city of Albuquerque. Susan Rice and Gary Wolf, who's the executive director there at Parks and Recs. They've been a big help for us to have this thing. We want to give them thanks for being our partner.
The venue is all important. It's a wonderful venue.
And our goal right now, if people are listening to the show, we do need donation and money. We need to get some portable PA system out there. We need some more bleachers, portable bleachers, because everything at Balloon Park has to be portable. We start early in the day to line the fields, put up the goalposts, and then we have to take it down. And then there's another kudos should go out to the New Mexico Brujos. They've allowed us to use their goalposts. They've been a partner with us. The Aardvarks have helped us out, but we could have done it without those people. And of course, all the families coming out. One of the most exciting things to see grandfathers and grandmothers and little kids playing rugby and
the dogs that come out.
And then with the ProView being able to broadcast. And,
yeah.
We had a big broadcast event this last weekend. Marty, tell us about that.
We had we were able to host the Arizona Rio Grande Club Championship. As you know, Arizona has a union, we have a union. We're part of what they call the Pacific South Union, that's Southern California. So we had our playoffs, and we took the top 2 seeds for Division 1, 2, and Division 3, and our Division 3 teams were Las Cruces and the New Mexico Brujos. The Aardvarks were the Division 1, Division 2, and El Paso. But you guys will describe, we didn't have a great weekend. We came in with good intentions, but Arizona won the prize.
No, probably the best part for New Mexico teams was just a little shorter drive for them. The first game that we saw was between the New Mexico Brujos and the Phoenix Rugby Club, And although some of the Brew hosts fought really hard, the whole team didn't give up for the majority of the match. Phoenix Rugby Club really had their way. Right now you're seeing that hooker, Alex Horn, he had a pretty big day for Phoenix, and even though the wind was blowing pretty hard, they were still able to get the ball passed out. The number 10 was Eric McMullen. He was playing a pretty tough game, crashing hard on the Brew hosts. Carl, what do you think about that game?
Well, we're watching a different game here right now on the screen, but let's stick with the Brew host game. The Brew hosts lost that game really because of the control that was put on the ball by Phoenix and playing it in the pack and not giving the Brew hosts opportunity to for their wide open running game to have any advantage whatsoever. That score by Alex Horn was interesting because he one of his proudest moments probably. This game here was the follow-up game to that, where Northern Arizona University,
which is a club rugby.
Yeah, it's a club rugby team. I'm sorry, they call them Northern Arizona, not University, because they have a couple of adult male players on their team, and they actually won the Division III championship on the weekend.
Yeah, and they'd actually played each other a few times, so it was a pretty interesting match to see two clubs who know each other very well get really a chance to play for the playoffs and the opportunity to play in the Nationals.
And of course, we saw a little tape of the Aardvarks playing Red Mountain. We gave them a pretty good game. We gave them too many soft scores, but Red Mountain was the better team. The Aardvarks just didn't quite have the complete game. But I think it was a lot closer than what the score indicated. I think it was 55-24. The match was, but we just didn't have it that day. But Aardvarks have had a great tradition in club rugby. We're in the Final Four in 2009, so I hope to see us back next year. But Red Mountain got in the finals. You guys could talk about the finals between Tempe and Red Mountain.
Well, the interesting thing is that the finals were Arizona teams playing each other, as you alluded to earlier, and that is a repeat. We haven't had a New Mexico team in the final for several years now, and we need to do something about that. And that has to do with the whole city, the players, the teams, everyone coming together and supporting each other.
Absolutely, but another thing about that is just that there are some really good Division II and III teams out in Arizona. Tempe is one of the top teams. They ended up winning the Division II round against Red Mountain, who beat the Aardvarks, and so Tempe, despite being a very good club, Red Mountain just couldn't beat Tempe.
Well,
in that championship.
They're the two best teams in Arizona, and they have been for several years. And Tempe's had the upper hand. I believe this was the 8th year in a row that they've won the championship, and they demonstrated their prowess on the field. It was a very good game. It was the best match of the weekend, I think. Red Mountain has a long history with them. They know each other really well, and the game was really tight until maybe the last 15 minutes, and then Tempe sort of ran away with it. And the score of that game was pretty close in the end, and so it bodes well for Arizona in their building processes, and it looks really good for the opportunity that Tempe has when they take on Southern California teams the next weekend and decide who the championships with. The Sweet 16s are going to be down in the Western Sweet 16s are going to be down in Tempe. The Eastern Sweet 16s are going to be in Pittsburgh.
They'll actually be Tucson, actually, but
yeah.
Sorry.
To let you know, the last time we won this playoff was in 2011. We did beat Tempe down in Tucson. So they've dominated the last 4 years, at least 5 years now. but we did beat them in 2011, and of course in 2009 we made it to the Final Four. So we've had some good players. The problem with club rugby is most of these guys go through a 5 or 6 year cycle, and they get married, they get up in their 30s, and things change. So you got to bring in new talent all the time, and the key is to bring in good young college talent. Kids graduate from college. And of course, the key is building our youth rugby program here in this region. Now, Arizona, I would say our youth rugby program in New Mexico is a little stronger than Arizona, but Arizona has a lot of influx from California players coming in. And of course, their college teams right now, Arizona State and Arizona are the top 30 or 20 in the country. So, but we're building it. New Mexico, the Lobos have come a long ways through Tom Goslow's leadership. So I see future things are happening, but the key here is with this Rugby Saturday, we are going to be broadcasting in Tucson and Phoenix. And so we're really building, the whole idea of the show is to report on what's happening in this region. And right now we got to give a lot of credit to Tempe and Arizona teams.
And Carl, with that Red Mountain game, the Red Mountain Tempe game, you had an opportunity to work with the president of the Arizona Rugby Club, or the Arizona Rugby, rather. How was it talking to him and learning about some of the players?
As we spoke about a little bit earlier, Ed Nunez usually works some of those games with us on the weekend. Aaron and I do, and Ed and I, and Ed couldn't show up because of his mother's illness at the time. So we were fortunate enough to have Peter Hugo, who is the president of the Arizona Rugby Union, here in town, both refereeing and supporting his clubs that were here playing. And he agreed to do the color commentary for us, so I worked my way through the play-by-play, not nearly as good as you and Ed. But we had a good time, and it was kind of interesting. If you got to listen to that game, it was played again this weekend during the what was it, 9 hours of rugby, Marty, that we showed on ProView Sports this weekend?
We had a rugby marathon. I don't think anybody's ever done this on a television station in the United States. We had 9 hours of rugby on Saturday from 1 o'clock till 9 o'clock, or 8 hours.
So we had
channel,
Hugo,
Comcast Channel 26.
So Peter, with his South African accent, added a lot to it, and it was kind of neat because sometimes we get up there and we don't have all of the technical resources that we could possibly want. So oftentimes we're a little bit confused or don't quite know what the penalty were called and stuff. And so sitting next to Peter, I was going, Peter, what was that called? He gave me the same, like, your guess is as good as mine.
Right.
So we're doing pretty good with that stuff, because it's a difficult thing to do. Our vantage point is pretty good, but it's far away, and you got to have people close. And in professional rugby, they have the referees mic'd so that the announcers can hear them talking.
Mm-hmm.
And actually so that the audience can hear them talking and when they're making their calls and stuff. So that would be really nice when we get to that point, and we'll get there. Trust me, we'll get there.
Absolutely.
We are going to the mic system probably next season. But the folks who are listening to the show, we're doing this game on a scaffolding that's 12 feet up, and we don't have press boxes like Community Stadium or some of these other stadiums. But I thought we did pretty good considering we're out there at Bloom Park with a scaffolding on wheels. Well,
we'll let the audience be the judge. We do the best we can with what we have, and ProView has put together a great production crew and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they've been very helpful for us getting these out, but we'll continue this conversation with Marty Watts right after these messages. Welcome back to Rugby Saturday Southwest. We're going to continue our conversation with Marty Watts, one of the founders of Rugby Saturday USA, as well as a former aardvark. So we finished talking about the Arizona and Rio Grande Rugby Clubs, or Rugby Unions playoffs. So the winners of those, the Tempe team as well as the Northern Arizona Land Sharks. They're going to be coming up against a couple of teams from California. Carl, who are they playing against?
Well, Tempe is going to be playing against Huntington Beach, who beat Ventura 28-25, and Northern Arizona is going to be playing against the Orange County Ravens, who beat Beaumont 37-12. The California playoffs were kind of were some upsets, real surprises. It looked as if going into the California tournament that Back Bay was going to be the hands-on winner. They were undefeated, I believe, and they were taken down 38-22 by Ventura, and then Ventura lost out to Huntington Beach. So it was quite a weekend there. Reminiscent a little bit of what we heard about New Mexico high school rugby a little bit earlier from Jamie, with some upsets and things going on there. So when they get to Tempe, Huntington Beach is going to be taking on the Tempe Old Devils, who I would, not even having seen Huntington Beach, I would take them as a favorite. They have had an undefeated season and they look really strong. And then the Ravens are going to have their hands full with NAU. NAU has that kid Mancini. I mean, he just resonates with you. You just don't forget his play. I mean, 90-meter tries, and setting up play and that kind of thing. He was something else. And
also that number one for them, Paulo Aguilera.
Paulo, we were comparing him to some French greats, weren't we? Sebastian.
They were competing for points at that point. Both of them were trying to put up, 20, 30 points. I think Mancini finished with about 30. Aguilera finished with 20, something along those lines.
We had a lot of fun calling that match. That was we were quite surprised at the Land Sharks and the way they tore it up. And in the earlier match against Las Cruces, it was pretty close. In fact, Las Cruces, they were just about even up at halftime. And the Land Sharks sort of figured out the wind. The big thing in our tournament that we held here, Northern Arizona Rio Grande tournament, the Arizona and Rio Grande tournament, is that we were hampered by wind. And the teams that adapted to the play in the wind, it really made a difference. And some did it more quickly than others. And I think the Land Sharks figured it out in that first game because they came back and scored 36 points in the second half against Las Cruces and put them away. And Red Mountain and the Aardvarks didn't seem to really ever get it, did they?
No, neither did the Brujos. And we saw a lot of passes that were sent off that just kind of flew forward because of the wind.
That's right. And Tempe had so many horses in the game that they didn't care about the wind.
Well, the thing about playing in the wind, when the wind's blowing 30 to 40 miles an hour, you have to bring the back lines in real tight. You can't just fling the ball 5 or 7 yards because the ball will fly. And I think that was one of the problems Northern Arizona. But I like this Land Shark team.
Northern Arizona did not have a problem. Yeah. They brought that ball in tight and they played tight. They understood that wind game and they took it over. I think no other team really figured it out but them. We were talking about that during the commentary in the booth, and the Aardvarks didn't figure it out. The Aardvarks didn't even figure out the kickoff component of it, and they were trying to kick 10-meter kicks into the wind, and it was blowing back over midfield. So they gave up a lot of opportunity because they were playing a game that didn't take into consideration the elements, and
I think
real important out here in the Southwest. And you think we would know about that?
Yeah.
Aardvarks know the wind,
But the Land Sharks, this team from Flagstaff, I think they're going to beat this Orange County. They're going to be the surprise team because their clubs really come together. They have some great leadership, and we saw those playmakers they have on that team. Mm-hmm. So I look for Arizona sweep next Saturday in Phoenix. I look for Tempe beating Huntington Beach Unicorns. And of course, I think the Land Sharks for Northern Arizona is going to win. Now, I might be surprised by Orange County, but
it'll be a heck of a game because we talked about Mancini and Paulo Aguilera, but they have an inside center fly half from New Zealand who is better than both of them. I mean, the guy scored at will. It was like pretty amazing. The coach told us to keep an eye on him, and in the first half I was watching, I was waiting, and then all of a sudden he just came alive, and it was like, holy mackerel. Not only was he a hard runner, he was a good kicker, and he was fast, and he had a stiff arm that like just shocked people. I mean, he was amazing.
And we saw runbacks too by the wing, the 14. I think his last name was Champagne. You know, a couple of mishandlings on the ball, unfortunately, kept him off the scoreboard. But you know, he was running through, gaining back when they would kick the ball. He was gaining back all those meters that the team tried to get out of.
Now, we have this thing called the High Desert Rugby Classic. It'll be its 46th year in October the 22nd, 23rd. And if the Land Sharks are listening to this show, we sure like to have them come back to Albuquerque in the fall to be part of our tournament, because I think they can win it. And of course, we're going to have a great tournament this fall, because we have Long Beach State, Texas Tech, OU, University of Arizona in the college division, and the club division is we're going to bring in the Denver Highlanders and Queen City. So hopefully the Land Sharks we'll get to see them in the fall. But they really put on a show last week in Albuquerque at Balloon Fiesta Park. Now, Tempe, talking about Tempe, Carl, I think they have a legitimate chance to win the national title in Division II.
It'll be interesting. You know, it's hard to tell once you get into those big games. And you've been to the finals like I have. If you get there, if you're in the game, you got a shot. And there's plenty of upsets, and it's hard to tell. But a gambling man would think that those guys have a good shot.
Yeah, and
they're strong in many positions, and they're really deep, and they're really big. They have a lot of Islanders on their team.
Oh yeah, and when we say Islanders, we're talking about Fijians and Samoans and people from Hawaii. They just they got a collection of great players, and of course they've got Brandon Thompson. Of course, he's the son of Salty Thompson, and Brandon played for the USA team. So they got some great leadership. So the people who are listening to this broadcast in Arizona, they've got a great team to really root for. So if I was in Phoenix, of course, if Carl and I were in Phoenix this weekend, we'd be watching those matches for sure.
Absolutely. And another set of matches that's going to be taking shape here for the Southwest, the Oklahoma University team is going to be qualified for the finals in the USA Sevens for the collegiate side. I understand you know a little bit about Oklahoma's team.
Well, the OU qualified for the National Sevens College Championship in Cary, North Carolina. Cary is a suburb of Raleigh.
That's where they're playing, right?
That's where the championship's going to be played on May 28th. The team is coached by Doug Neubauer, and of course John Veely is their president and director of the club. As you know, they're part of our Rugby Saturday Oklahoma group, and they're 8-2. They made it to the finals in the Big 12 Sevens, so they have a really good Sevens program. They did play on that Varsity Cup on NBC a couple years ago. That's played on June 4th and 5th. But they're going to be in the college championship, and we want to root them on. Oklahoma has a great history of college rugby going back to 1975. I mean, I was involved in their first season. They've even had the great Joe Washington, who played in the NFL, an All-American, played on their team. I actually played against him once. He sure made us look like mincemeat that day, but we actually won the game. The Aardvarks did. Yeah. But OU has a great tradition. They're going to be part of our Rugby Saturday, Oklahoma, next spring. We're going to be broadcasting through Sooner Vision with partnership ProView. We'll be doing their broadcasts of their college matches in the spring, and plus club and high school rugby in Oklahoma. So it's exciting.
Do you remember who the defending college sevens champion is?
I think you caught me off guard. I don't know who's the defending.
It's not OU.
No, it's not. But
we wish them luck.
We wish them luck.
It sounds like it's pretty good that they've got a strong program coming out there, especially to make it to the final tournament.
Well, you know, the New Mexico Vatos won the small college championship, and they have two players that were All-Americans that are actually in line to play or being considered for play for the United States in the Olympics in Rio de Janeiro. So there's a pretty strong New Mexico connection to
and
sevens.
just so you know, the New Mexico Highlands Vato did qualify for the National Sevens Final Four in Philadelphia. It's going to be on June, I think the first week in June, and they are the defending national champions. So here in the state of New Mexico, we have the national champions in small college rugby. Now, small college rugby is 320 men's team, I think 200 women's team. So, and that game is going to be on television. It's going to be tape delay on NBC. So the Vatos, led by Dick Green, they're going to be in the championship. So I'm kind of excited about New Mexico.
That's Coach Dick Green.
Coach
former
Dick Green.
Aardvark.
Former Aardvark. So we've got some, in our region, we've got Oklahoma, New Mexico Highlands. Of course, the Arizona teams are doing great.
All right, well, sounds like there's a lot of fantastic rugby going on here in the Southwest, but we'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to Rugby Saturday Southwest. So rugby is maybe not the most common sport here in the United States. It's got rules that are somewhat similar to football, but it's got a little bit different. So the folks over at Pro Rugby North America have put together this film to give viewers a little bit of a 101, learn about the rules.
I think if someone just goes out and gives it a chance and takes time to learn the rules, they'll fall in love with the game.
Every player on the field has an input into the game. Every player has a decision-making process.
I think the American audience will be very surprised by the amount of contact and impact plays that there are.
Canadian defense is swarming.
Americans love fast-paced, hard-hitting action.
Hume takes it, watch that left foot step. Oh, what is the stop from Luke Hume into open space, dancing.
The fact that it's so high-paced, high-scoring games, that also adds to the attraction of it.
Setting up that rolling ball, touch on the outside, no one there. Clever with a dive. That is absolutely brilliant. Strike, and it's through.
Offloading for a try. That's my favorite thing. Like, it's like an assist, and to somebody like, well, don't you want to be the scorer? I'm like, no, I want to be the guy who's doing the pass.
Great support from Lorenzo Thomas. Excellent offload. In off on the outside. Champagne Rugby. The Eagles will score their third try.
You got to know all the rules. You got to know all the techniques. You got to learn the game.
And now Clever on the outside. Todd Clever looking for his 15th try. Oh, trucks the opposite wing and still going strong.
It's just non-stop action. It's 40 minutes either side.
Every American that I've met who has had a chance to actually watch rugby has gotten really excited about rugby and has fallen in love with the sport.
Well, Well, thank you so much from us here at ProView Networks to Pro Rugby North America for letting us use that film. Kind of let people know a little bit about the rules, you know, how it differs and how the game actually works. One of the fun parts about that is this Pro Rugby organization. They actually have the newest professional rugby league in the United States. It's going to be the first one, and we're featuring 5 teams coming up, and the season's already started from what I understand?
Yeah, 3 weeks ago. We're going in our 4th week, I believe. We've got 5 teams. We've got a team called Ohio, and that's a team out of Columbus. We've got Denver. They're playing their games at Infinity Park. We all know about that place in Glendale. And then we've got Sacramento. They're playing in Roney Field. There holds about 9,000 seats. And then we've got San Francisco as a club, as a pro team, and then San Diego. And so those are the 5 teams. They're hoping by next year they'll have a 10-team league. They're looking to get a contract with NBC or one of those networks to put pro rugby on. Right now, you can go up and watch their games every Sunday. If you go to Pro Rugby North American Facebook, you can link up there, and they'll give you link ups of all the games, so you can watch it and they play on Sunday like professional football does on Sunday. All their matches are Sunday, and the players are comprised of teams in the region. Of course, they are paying these guys. I don't know what the top salary is, but I think the minimum is $2,000 to $3,000 a month, and the season goes to July 31st. So it's kind of exciting. Now there's a pathway for a guy who plays high school, college, or club. It can go on to play professional rugby. When Carl and I played, we didn't have that pathway.
Well, we had to leave the country to play professional rugby. A lot of American players do go over to Europe and play in the Premier League and that kind of stuff. I'm curious, one of the Vatos, their number 8, got a professional contract. Was this for this league?
I think it was for Rugby League in England. And he's thinking about signing after the Sevens tournament up in Philadelphia. As you know, the Vatos made it to the national finals for small college. Now, up until this year, Carl, I think there were 16 to 17 Americans playing professional rugby in the French league and in England, and the British Isles League. Okay?
Well, yeah, they in the minor leagues, but they have a number of them in the Premier League over there too. So it's. I watch that occasionally, and they always point out when an American is playing, because they're playing to an American audience over here, and we have a spattering of those guys in there, and it's really helping U.S. rugby to have people playing in those environments and playing professionally and having a path for people who expend the time and energy to become proficient to that professional level. So that they're not working a job and raising their family and sacrificing so much to be able to play.
Yeah, and it's pretty important as well, just because when we talk about those leagues, the Premier League, the top 14, we're talking about really well-established groups. Also the Super 15. These places where players want to go. Players want to flock to France or flock to England to play this professional rugby, and I think with Professional Rugby North America is trying to make us that new destination, make us a new powerhouse.
The Olympics and the emphasis, bringing rugby back into the Olympics with the 10s going into this year, and the popularity of the global international 10s traveling circus that they have that goes around. Sevens, yeah, that goes around the 10s, yeah, goes around the world. Bringing that into the Olympics and making an Olympic sport, that's going to be really something. And what's really nice about it is that the United States has actually won 1 or 2 of those sevens tournaments in that international play, and they have a really good chance of being significant in the Olympics.
And we beat, who was it, England?
We've beaten England.
A couple of these.
We've
France as well.
Yeah.
And just to let you know, we are going into the Olympic Games in Rio de Janeiro. We are the defending Olympic champions. Last time rugby was played 90 years ago in Paris, 1924, the United States beat France in the finals. It caused riots in Paris. As a matter of fact, Scott Fitzgerald, the guy who wrote The Great Gatsby and of course Ernest Hemingway, Fareway with Arms, they were there as a lost generation of artists as American. They witnessed those games.
Now that was 15s.
15 aside.
And since that point, the IRB pulled out. They never even petitioned to be in the Olympics.
Right, and so what happened was so they banned rugby in 1924. Of course, it wasn't a fluke that the United States won, because in 1905 to 1910 rugby was banned by Teddy Roosevelt, and a lot of the schools played rugby in those early days.
Football was banned, you mean?
Yeah, football was banned in those days.
All right. So we hope you guys got some inside rugby knowledge from watching that wonderful video on the rules of the game and the layout of the field and the techniques that have to be used and the amount of effort that goes into making rugby as safe a sport as possible. That's a very good video. Thanks for making that available, Marty.
And like all sports, safety is always number one, and we're very glad that that is one of the primary focuses of rugby. Things like the tackling below the shoulders, making sure that everybody is not hitting players who aren't protected. That sort of stuff is very good.
And no blocking. We'll always like no blocking.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Marty, thank you so much for joining me and Carl today on the show. We hope that you come back to watch more of our broadcasts here with Rugby Saturday Southwest. My name is Aaron Rivera, joined by Carl Hawkins, and good day.